Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaraguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalalita Sri Visakanvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण विष्णु प्रभु दंडवत नाम जय श्री प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत नाम जय श्री प्रभु।
Okay, 6.6 A formula for peace. This article by Srila Prabhupada was first published in 1956. Oh, this is really early article in New Delhi, India, in Back to Godhead, the magazine he founded in 1944, appealing to his Indian readers to employ everything in transcendental service for the interest of the Lord. He concludes that this alone can bring the desired peace. In the revealed scriptures, the Supreme Lord is described as Sachidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1. Sat means eternal, Chit means full cognizance, Ananda means joyful, and Vigraha means specific personality. Therefore, the Lord or the Supreme Godhead, who is one without a second, is an eternal joyful personality with a full sense of his own identity. That is a concise description of the Supreme Lord, and no one is equal to or greater than him. The living entities or jivas are minute samples of the Supreme Lord, and therefore we find in their activities the desire for eternal existence, the desire for knowledge of everything, and an urge for seeking happiness in diverse ways. These three qualities of the living being are minutely visible in human society, but they are increased and enjoyed 100 times more by the beings who reside in the upper planets, which are called Burloka, Svarloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Maharloka, Brahmaloka, and so forth. But even the standard of enjoyment on the highest planets in the material world, which is thousands and thousands of times superior to what we enjoy on this earth, is also described as insignificant in comparison to the spiritual bliss enjoyed in the company of the Supreme Lord. His loving service in different mellows, relationships, makes even the enjoyment of merging with the impersonal spiritual effulgence as insignificant as a drop of water compared with the ocean. Every living being is ambitious to have the topmost level of enjoyment in the material world, and yet one is always unhappy here. This unhappiness is present on all the above mentioned planets, in spite of a long lifespan and high standards of comfort. That is the love of nature. That is the love of material nature. One can increase the duration of life and standard of comfort to the highest capacity, and yet by the love of material nature, one will be unhappy. The reason is that the quality of happiness suitable for our constitution is different from the happiness derived from material activities. The living entity is a minute particle of Sachidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1, and therefore he necessarily has a propensity for joyfulness that is spiritual in quality, but he is vainly trying to derive his spiritual joyfulness from the foreign atmosphere of the material nature. A fish that is taken out of the water cannot be happy by any arrangement of happiness on the land. It must have an aguatic habitation. In the same way, the minute Satchidananda, living entity, cannot be really happy through the amount of material planning conceived by his illusion brain. Therefore, the living entity must be given a different type of happiness, a transcendental happiness, which is called spiritual bliss. Our ambitions should be aimed at enjoying spiritual bliss and not material happiness. The ambition of spiritual bliss is good, but the method of attaining this standard is not merely to negate material happiness. Theoretical negation of material activities, as propounded by Sripad Shankaracharya, may be relevant for an insignificant section of man, but the devotional activities propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the best and surest way of attaining spiritual bliss. In fact, they change the very face of material nature. Hankering after material happiness is called lust, and in the long run, hankering after material happiness is called lust. And in the long run, lustful activities are sure to meet with frustration. The body of a venomous snake is very cool, but if a man wants to enjoy the coolness of the snake's body and therefore garlands himself with the snake, then surely he will be killed by the snake. Snake's bites. The material senses are like snakes, and indulging in so-called material happiness surely kills one's spiritual self-awareness. Therefore, a sane man should be ambitious to find the real source of happiness. Once a foolish man who had no experience of the taste of sugar cane was told by a friend to taste its sweetness. When the man inquired about the sugar cane's appearance, the friend imperfectly informed him that the sugar cane resembles a bamboo stick. The foolish man thus began trying to extract sugarcane juice from a bamboo stick, but naturally he was baffled in his attempt. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you can continue also. Hare
Krishna. That is the position of illusioned living beings in his search for eternal happiness within the material world, which is not only full of miseries but also transient and flickering. In the Bhagavad Gita, the material world is described as full of miseries. The ambition for happiness is good, but the attempt to derive it from inert matter by so-called scientific arrangement is an illusion. The fooled persons cannot understand this. The Gita, chapter 16.13, describes how a person driven by the lust for material happiness thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my scheme. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future. The atheistic or godless civilization is a huge affair of sense gratification, and everyone is now mad after money to keep up an empty show. Everyone is seeking money because that is the medium of exchange for sense gratificatory objects. To expect peace in such an atmosphere of gold rush pandemonium is a utopian dream. As long as there is even a slight tinge of madness for sense gratification, peace will remain far, far away. The reason is that by nature, everyone is an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and therefore we cannot enjoy anything for our personal interest. We have to employ everything in transcendental service for the interest of the Lord. This alone can bring about the desired peace. A part of the body cannot make itself satisfied. It can only serve the whole body and derive satisfaction from that service. But now everyone is busy in self-interested business, and no one is prepared to serve the Lord. That is the basic cause of material existence. From the highest executive administrator down to the lowest sweeper in the street, everyone is working with the thought of unlawful accumulation of wealth. But to work merely for one's self interest is unlawful and destructive. Even the cultivation of spiritual realization merely for one's self interest is unlawful and destructive. As a result of all the unlawful money making, there is no scarcity of money in the world, but there is a scarcity of peace. Since the whole of our human energy has been diverted to this money making, the money making capacity of the total population has certainly increased, but the result is that such an unrestricted and unlawful inflation of money has created a bad economy and has enabled us to manufacture huge, costly weapons that threaten to destroy the very result of such money making. Instead of enjoying peace, the leaders of big money making countries are now making big plans how they can save themselves from the modern destructive weapons, and yet a huge sum of money is being thrown into the sea for experiments with such dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at huge monetary cost, but also at the cost of many poor lives, thereby binding such nations to the laws of karma. That is the illusion of material nature. As a result of the impulse for sense gratification, money is earned by spoiled energy, and it is then spent for the destruction of the human race. The energy of the human race is thus spoiled by the law of nature, because that energy is diverted from the service of the Lord, who is actually the owner of all energies. Wealth derived from Mother Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune. As the Vedic literature explains, the goddess of fortune is meant to serve Lord Narayana, the source of all the Naras, or living beings. The Naras are also meant to serve Narayana, the supreme Lord, under the guidance of the goddess of fortune. The living being cannot enjoy the goddess of fortune without serving Narayana or Krishna, and therefore, whoever desires to enjoy her wrongly will be punished by the laws of nature, and the money itself will become the cause of destruction instead of being the cause of peace and prosperity. Such unlawfully accumulated money is now being snatched away from the miserly citizens by various methods of state taxation for the various national and international war funds, which spend the money in a wasteful manner. The citizen is no longer satisfied with just enough money to maintain his family nicely and cultivate spiritual knowledge, both of which are essential in human life. He now wants money unlimitedly for satisfying insatiable desires, and in proportion to his unlawful desire, his accumulated money is now being taken away by the agents of the illusory nature in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, institutions, and so-called religionists, as well as by famines, earthquakes, and many other such calamities. One miser who, under the dictation of the illusory nature, hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to Godhead spent $2,500 for a weekly supply of medicine and then died. A similar thing happened. A similar thing happened when a man who refused to spend a cent for the service of the Lord wasted $3,500 in a legal suit between the members of his household. That is the law of nature. If money is not devoted to the service of the Lord, by the law of nature, it must be spent as spoiled energy in the fight against legal problems, diseases, and so on. Foolish people have no eyes to see such facts, so necessarily the laws of the Supreme Lord befool them. The laws of nature do not allow us to accept more money than is required for proper maintenance. There is ample arrangement by the law of nature to provide every living being with his due share of food and shelter, but the insatiable lust of the human being has disturbed the whole arrangement of the Almighty Father of all species of life. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, there is an ocean of salt, because salt is necessary for the living being. In the same manner, God has arranged for sufficient air and light, which are also essential for the living being. One can collect any amount of salt from the storehouse, but one cannot take more salt than he needs. If he takes more salt, he spoils the broth, and if he takes less salt, his eatables become tasteless. On the other hand, if he takes only what he absolutely requires, the food is tasty and he is healthy. So, ambition for wealth, for more than we need, is harmful, just as eating more salt than we absolutely need is harmful. That is the law of nature. Should I continue, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu.
7, Chapter 7. Perspectives on Science and Philosophy. 7.1. Plato. Goodness and Government. In 1972 and 1973, Srila Prabhupada held a series of philosophical discussions with his personal secretary, Shyama Sundara, while traveling around the world. These sessions were recorded and published to provide an understanding of Western philosophy, psychology, and science from the viewpoint of the timeless teaching of India's Vedic literature. In the following conversation, the striking similarities between Plato's ideal state and that outlined in the Bhagavad Gita prompt one to ask, could Plato have gotten his ideas from India's ancient Vedas? Shyama Plato believed society can enjoy prosperity and harmony only if it places people in working categories or classes according to their natural abilities. He thought people should find out their natural abilities and use those abilities to their fullest capacity as administrators, as military men, or as craftsmen. More important, the head of state should not be an average or mediocre man. Instead, society should be led by very wise and good man, a philosopher king or a group of very wise and good men. Srila Prabhupada. This idea appears to be taken from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that the ideal society has four divisions: Brahmanas, intellectual, Kshatriyas, warriors and administrators, Vaishyas, merchants and farmers, and Shudras, laborers. These divisions come about by the influence of the modes of nature. Everyone, both in human society and in animal society, is influenced by the mode of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, or goodness, passion, and ignorance. By scientifically classifying men according to these qualities, society can become perfect. But if we place a man in the mode of ignorance in a philosopher's post, or put a philosopher to work as an ordinary laborer, havoc will result. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the Brahmanas, the most intelligent men who are interested in transcendental knowledge and philosophy, should be given the topmost post, and under their instructions, the Kshatriyas, administrators, should work. The administrators should see that there is law and order and that everyone is doing his duty. And the next section is the productive class, the Vaishyas, who engaged in agriculture and cow protection. And finally, there are the Shudras, common laborers, who help the other sections. This is Vedic civilization, people living simply on agriculture and cow protection. If you have enough milk, grain, fruits, and vegetables, you can live very nicely. The Srimad Bhagavatam compares the four divisions of society to the different parts of the body: the head, the arms, the belly, and the legs. Just as all parts of the body cooperate to keep the body fit, in the ideal state, all sections of society cooperate under the leadership of the Brahmanas. Comparatively, the head is the most important part of the body, for it gives direction to the other parts of the body. Similarly, the ideal state functions under the directions of the Brahmanas, who are not personally interested in political affairs or administration because they have a higher duty. At present, this Krishna consciousness movement is training Brahmanas. If the administrators take our advice and conduct the state in a Krishna conscious way, there will be an ideal society throughout the world. Shyama Sundara. How does modern society differ from the Vedic ideal? Srila Prabhupada. Now, there is a large scale industrialization, which means exploitation of one man by another. Such industry was unknown in Vedic civilization. It was unnecessary. In addition, modern civilization has taken to slaughtering and eating animals, which is barbarous. It is not even human. In Vedic civilization, when a person was unfit to rule, he was deposed. For instance, King Vena proved to be an unfit king. He was simply interested in hunting. Of course, Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt, but not whimsically. They are not allowed to kill many birds and beasts unnecessarily, as King Vena was doing, and as people do today. At that time, the intelligent Brahmanas objected and immediately killed him with a curse. Formerly, the Brahmanas had so much power that they could kill simply by cursing. Weapons were unnecessary. At present, however, because the head of the social body is missing, it is a dead body. The head is very important, and our Krishna consciousness movement is attempting to create some Brahmanas who will form the head of society. Then the administrators will be able to rule very nicely under the instructions of the philosophers and theologians, that is, under the instructions of God conscious people. A God conscious Brahmana would never advise opening slaughterhouses, but now the many rascals heading the government allow animal slaughter. When Maharaj Parikshit saw a degraded man trying to kill a cow, he immediately drew his sword and said, "Who are you? Why are you trying to kill this cow?" He was a real king. Nowadays, unqualified men have taken the presidential post, and although they may post themselves as very religious, they are simply rascals. Why? Because under their noses, thousands of cows are being killed while they collect a good salary. Any leader who is at all religious should resign his post in protest if cow slaughter goes on under his rule. Since people do not know that these administrators are rascals, they are suffering. And the people are also rascals because they are voting for these bigger rascals. It is Plato's view that the government should be ideal, and this is the ideal. The saintly philosophers should be at the head of the state. According to their advice, the politicians should rule. Under the protection of the politicians, the productive class should provide the necessities of life, and the laborer class should help. This is the scientific division of society that Krishna advocates in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, 13 verse. Chadur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me, Shyamasundara. Plato also observed social divisions. However, he advocated three divisions: One class consisted of the guardian men of wisdom who governed society. Another class consisted of the warriors who were courageous and who protected the rest of society. And the third class consisted of the artisan who performed their services obediently and worked only to satisfy their appetites. Srila Prabhada. Yes, human society does have this threefold division. Also, the first class man is in the mode of goodness, second class man is in the mode of passion, and the third class man is in the mode of ignorance. Shamasundara. Plato's understanding of the social order was based on his observation that man has a threefold division of intelligence, courage, and appetite. He said that the soul has these three qualities. Srila Prabhata. That is a mistake. The soul does not have any material qualities. The soul is pure, but because of his contact with the different qualities of material nature, he is dressed in various bodies. This Krishna conscious movement aims at removing this material dress. Our first instruction is, "You are not this body." It appears that in his practical understanding, Plato identified the soul with the bodily dress, and that does not show very good intelligence. Shamasundara. Plato believed that man's position is marginal between matter and spirit, and therefore he also stressed the development of the body. He thought that everyone should be educated from an early age and that part of the education should be gymnastic to keep the body fit. Srila Prabhata. This means that in practice, Plato very strongly identified the self as the body. What was Plato's idea of education? Shamasundara. To awaken the student to his natural position, whatever his natural abilities or talents are. Srila Prabhata. And what is that natural position? Shamasundara. The position of moral goodness. In other words, Plato thought everyone should be educated to work in whatever way is best suited to awaken his natural moral goodness. Srila Prabhata. But moral goodness is not enough, because simple morality will not satisfy the soul. One has to go above morality to Krishna consciousness. Of course, in this material world, morality is taken as the highest principle, but there is another platform which is called the transcendental Vasudeva platform. Man's highest perfection is on that platform, and this is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. However, because Western philosophers have no information of the Vasudeva platform, they consider the material mode of goodness to be the highest perfection and the end of morality. But in this world, even moral goodness is infected by the lower modes of ignorance and passion. You cannot find pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, in this material world, for pure goodness is the transcendental platform. To come to the platform of pure goodness, which is the ideal, one has to undergo austerities. Tapasa brahmacharyena shamena cha damena cha. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.13. One has to practice celibacy and control the mind and senses. If he has money, he should distribute it in charity. Also, one should always be very clean. In this way, one can rise to the platform of pure goodness. There is another process for coming to the platform of pure goodness, and that is Krishna consciousness. If one becomes Krishna conscious, all the good qualities automatically develop in him. Automatically, he leads a life of celibacy, controls mind and senses, and has a charitable disposition. In this age of Kali, people cannot possibly be trained to engage in austerity. Formerly, a brahmachari, celibate student, would undergo austere training. Even though he might be from a royal or learned family, a brahmachari would humble himself and serve the spiritual master as a menial servant. He would immediately do whatever the spiritual master ordered. The brahmachari would beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master, claiming nothing for himself. Whatever he earned, he would give to the spiritual master. Because the spiritual master would not spoil the money by sending it for sense gratification, he would use it for Krishna. This is austerity. The brahmachari would also observe celibacy, and because he followed the directions of the spiritual master, his mind and senses were controlled. Today, however, this austerity is very difficult to follow. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the process of taking to Krishna consciousness directly. In this case, one needs simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and follow the regulatory principles given by the spiritual master. Then one immediately rises to the platform of pure goodness. Shama Sundara. Plato, though Plato thought about Plato thought the state should train citizens to be virtuous. His system of education went like this. For the first 3 years of life, the child should play and strengthen his body. From 3 to 6, the child should learn religious stories. From 7 to 10, he should learn gymnastics. From 10 to 13, reading and writing. From 14 to 16, poetry and music. From 16 to 18, mathematics. And from 18 to 20, he should undergo military drill. From 20 to 35, those who are scientific and philosophical should remain in school and continue learning, and the warriors should engage in military exercises. Hare Krishna. Someone can continue.
Hare Krishna, Drona Prabhu and Sujay Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can you Prabhu's read? Devo. Okay, I can read also. In this educational program for all men, or is this educational program for all men, or are there different types of education for different men? Shamasundar, no, this is for everyone. Prabhupada, this is not very good. If a boy is intelligent and inclined to philosophy and theology, why should he be forced to undergo military training? Shamasundar, well, Plato said that everyone should undergo 2 years of military drill. Prabhupada, but why should someone waste 2 years? No one should waste even 2 days. This is nonsense, imperfect ideas. Yes, I was also thinking like this, because in in Finland there is compulsory, you have to go to military for 6 months or 1 year. So I was thinking that why should someone waste even 1 year? So I didn't go. I avoided it. It was nonsense. Plato said this type of education reveals what category a person belongs to. He did have the right idea that one belongs to a particular class according to his qualification. Prabhupada, yes, that we also say, but we disagree that everyone should go through the same training. The spiritual master should judge the tendency or disposition of the student at the start of his education. He should be able to see whether the boy is fit for military training, administration, or philosophy, and then he should fully train the boy according to his particular tendency. If one is naturally inclined to philosophical study, why should he waste his time in the military? And if one is naturally inclined to military training, why should he waste his time with other things? Arjuna belonged to a Kshatriya warrior family. He and his brothers were never trained as philosophers. Dronacharya was their master and teacher, and although he was a Brahmana, he taught them Dhanurveda, military science, not Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is theistic philosophy. No one should be trained in everything. No one should be trained in everything. That is a waste of time. If one is inclined towards production, business, or agriculture, he should be trained in those fields. If one is philosophical, he should be trained as a philosopher. If one is militaristic, he should be trained as a warrior. And if one has ordinary ability, he should remain as Shudra or laborer. This is stated by Narada Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yashyaya Lakshanam Proktam. The 4 classes of society are recognized by their symptoms and qualifications. Narada Muni also says that one should be selected for training according to his qualifications. Even if one is born in a Brahmana family, he should be considered a Shudra if his qualifications are those of a Shudra. And if one is born in a Shudra family, he should be taken as a Brahmana if his symptoms are Brahmanical. The spiritual master should be expert enough to recognize the tendencies of the student and immediately train him in that line. This is perfect dedication. Shamasundar. Plato believed that the student's natural tendency wouldn't come out unless he practiced everything. Prabhupada, no, that is wrong, because the soul is continuous, and therefore everyone has some tendency from his previous birth. I think Plato didn't realize his continuity of the soul from body to body. According to the Vedic culture, immediately after a boy's birth, astrologers should calculate what category he belongs to. Astrology can help if there is a first-class astrologer. Such an astrologer can tell what line a boy is coming from and how he should be trained. Plato's method of education was imperfect because it was based on speculation. Plato observed that a particular combination of the 3 modes of nature is acting in each individual. Prabhupada, then why did he say that everyone should be trained in the same way? Shamasundar, because he claimed that the person's natural abilities will not manifest unless he is given a chance to try everything. He saw that some people listen primarily to their intelligence, and he said that they are governed by the head. He saw that some people have an aggressive disposition, and he said such courageous types are governed by the heart, by passion. And he saw that some people who are inferior simply want to feed their appetites. He said these people are animalistic, and he believed they are governed by the liver. Prabhupada, that is not a perfect description. Everyone has a liver, a heart, and all the bodily limbs. Whether one is in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance depends on one's training and on the qualities he acquired during his previous life. According to the Vedic process, at birth, one is immediately given a classification. Psychological and physical symptoms are considered, and generally, it is ascertained from birth that a child has a particular tendency. However, this tendency may change according to the circumstances, and if one does not fulfill his assigned role, he can be transferred to another class. One may have had Brahminical training in a previous life, and he may exhibit Brahminical symptoms in this life, but one should not think that because he has taken birth in a Brahmana family, he's automatically a Brahmana. A person may be born in a Brahmana family and be Shudra. It is a question of, not of birth, but of qualification. Shyamasundar, Plato also believed that one must qualify for his position, for his post. His system of government was very democratic. He thought everyone should be given a chance to occupy the different posts. Prabhupada, actually, we are the most democratic because we are giving everyone a chance to become a first-class Brahmana. The Krishna consciousness movement is giving even the lowest member of society a chance to become a Brahmana by becoming Krishna conscious. Chandalopi dvijasreshto haribhakti parayanaha. Although one may be born in a family of Chandalas, dog eaters, as soon as he becomes God conscious, Krishna conscious, he can be elevated to the highest position. Krishna says that everyone can go back home, back to Godhead. Samoham sarva bhutesu. I am equal to everyone. Everyone can come to me. There is no hindrance. Shamasundar, what is the purpose of the social orders and the state of government and the state government? Prabhupada, the ultimate purpose is to make everyone Krishna conscious. That is the perfection of life, and the entire social structure should be molded with this aim in view. Of course, not everyone can become fully Krishna conscious in one lifetime, just as not all students in a university can attain the PhD degree in one attempt. But the idea of perfection is to pass the PhD examination, and therefore, the PhD courses should be maintained. Similarly, an institution like this Krishna conscious movement should be maintained so that at least some people can attain and everyone can approach the ultimate goal, Krishna consciousness. Shamasundar. So the goal of the state government is to help everyone become Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Krishna consciousness is the highest goal. Therefore, everyone should help this movement and take advantage of it. Regardless of his work, everyone can come to the temple. The instructions are for everyone, and prasadam is distributed for everyone. Therefore, there is no difficulty. Everyone can contribute to this Krishna conscious movement. The Brahmanas can contribute their intelligence, the Kshatriyas their charity, the Vaishyas their grain, milk, fruits, and flowers, and the Shudras their bodily service. By such joint effort, everyone can reach the same goal, Krishna consciousness, the perfection of life. Haribol. Okay, now we need to go to six Astakam prayers. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagninirvapanam Shreyah kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyabadu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नाम्नामकारि बहुधानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशां हजनिनानुरागा
Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahisnuna mani namanadena kirtaniya sada hari.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कविताम्बा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि।
अयि नन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय।
नयनं गलादश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकेर्निजितं वपु कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति।
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्ष्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे।
आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अतृष्णां मर्महतां करोतु वा यदा तदा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः।
Ribo. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth or do I visit the beautiful woman or do I want any number of the followers. I only want your clueless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaja Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of the death and place me as one of autumn of your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain. So even if he handles me roughly by his embrace and make me heartbroken by not giving the present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything for he always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. If anyone receives or hears these 8 verses of instructions by the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his the idealistic love and the devotional for the Krishna increases day by day. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Haribo, श्री शिक्षाष्टकम की
Jai,
जाय, नाम संकीर्तन की जाय, पंचतत्व की जाय,
Jai,
नित्य की जाय, श्री
Jai,
कृष्ण चैतन्य
Jai,
महाप्रभु की जाय, जगत गुरु शिला भक्ति
Jai,
वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपद की जाय, निताय गौर
Jai,
प्रेम हरि हरि
Hari
बोल।
Bol.
Hey, Hari Bol.
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
Swami